Let's cut through the noise. Everything you've been told about women being impossible to understand is a myth, sold to you by people who gave up trying to read the language that was right in front of them. Women aren't mysteries. They're maps. And every map has pressure points. Yes, they're complex. But with the right awareness, the kind most men never develop, you can start seeing what most guys never notice: the emotional weak spots, the soft triggers, the hidden pathways straight to the core of her attraction. Not to play her. To stop getting played. While other men throw out compliments like confetti, try to impress her with noise, or fold the second she tests their strength, you're going to learn how to walk in calm, grounded, and untouchable. Stoic. Still. Solid. Because this isn't about being that nice guy, that role gets discarded. This is about becoming the right man. The one she never forgets. In this video, we're breaking down the 9 female weaknesses most men will never even recognize, let alone understand. A few will shock you. Some will explain why your last relationship collapsed. And all of them will flip the way you move with women from this point forward. So if you're done with confusion, and ready for control, hit subscribe. What you're about to learn doesn't just change the game, it changes you. Let's get to it. 1. Confidence that doesn't ask for permission. Let me give it to you straight, the most irresistible men aren't the loudest in the room, they're the calmest. The average guy tries too hard. Tries to be liked. Tries to be seen. And in doing so, he exposes his neediness, his insecurity, his addiction to approval. But the man who walks into a room without needing applause, he creates gravity. This is deeper than bravado. This is about energy. Psychology proves that people mirror emotional states. So if you bring in anxious, self-doubting vibes, she'll feel it instantly, and withdraw. But if you're grounded, if you move with quiet assurance that doesn't need to be explained, she feels safe. That's the paradox: the less you seek validation, the more desirable you become. You don't need to prove anything. You need to embody everything. Because true confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't chase. It doesn't flinch. 2. The power of being understood, without explaining. Most women don't want you to solve them. They want you to see them. In a world that demands women explain, justify, and defend their emotions constantly, the rarest gift you can offer is presence without pressure. She's not always going to say what's wrong. She won't always ask for help. But if you can stay close without intruding, if you can hold her silence without trying to break it, you'll give her something no man ever gave her: safety without expectation. The Stoics didn't just master action. They mastered perception. And in that stillness, she melts. 3. The magnetic force of masculine silence. When a man reacts, he reveals his weakness. When he pauses, he shows power. There's a kind of silence that terrifies insecure men. They think stillness is losing. But the man who can sit in the heat of a moment without collapsing into chaos, that's the man who becomes unforgettable. Marcus Aurelius put it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. This isn't passive. It's strategic. Silence at the right moment isn't absence, it's dominance. And in that gap, when most men rush to fix or defend, you stand still. Calm. Immovable. And she feels it. 4. Eye contact that doesn't blink. This isn't about being creepy or intense, it's about being fully present. When you look a woman in the eye and don't break, you send a message louder than words ever could: I see you. I'm not afraid of being seen. That second of longer than normal eye contact, that's where the real tension lives. That's where connection begins. The man who holds eye contact without aggression and without apology, he shakes her core. Not because he's trying to impress her, but because he doesn't need to. And that stillness, It tells her more about your strength than any compliment ever will. 5. The magnetic pull of mystery. Let's get this right, mystery is not disappearing, breadcrumbing, or playing games. That's immaturity. Mystery is depth. It's restraint. Its presence so rich, she senses there's more beneath the surface, but you don't hand it out like candy. Most men overshare to feel significant. But the man who shares strategically, who leaves space for her to explore instead of dumping his life story in 5 minutes, that man becomes a puzzle she wants to solve. Mystery isn't about hiding. It's about being so complete, so whole, that she wants to earn the layers. 6. Purpose over passion. Passion burns fast. Purpose burns steady. Every man has dreams. Few build discipline. And that's the difference. You want to know what makes a woman trust a man with her softness. When she feels he would be exactly the same man, whether she's watching or not. You don't need to scream your ambition. You just need to walk it, daily. Quietly. Without need for applause. A stoic man moves with aim. She doesn't follow your noise, she follows your direction. 7. Leading without controlling. Most men misunderstand masculine leadership. They think it's command. But the most powerful form of leadership is presence. I saw an older man calm his anxious wife not by words, but by simply holding her bags and standing still. No logic. No lectures. Just quiet strength. That's what she wants. Not dominance. Direction. Not force. Foundation. She doesn't want to be controlled, she wants to relax. And she can only do that when you stop collapsing under her storms and start anchoring them. 8. The spell of emotionally intelligent language. Here's a hard truth, if your words don't carry emotional weight, she won't remember them. You can be the funniest, slickest guy in the room, and still be forgettable. Women are wired to feel before they analyze. When your words come from presence, clarity, and grounded emotion, she doesn't just hear them. She remembers them. It's not about being poetic. It's about being precise. Speak from alignment. Speak from stillness. And your voice will stay with her long after you've gone silent. 9. The quiet power to walk away. The final and most devastating emotional trigger. A man who doesn't need to stay. Andre, a former Marine, didn't seduce his partner with words or gifts. He didn't chase. He simply existed, calm, grounded, and fully present. And in that space, she relaxed. She leaned in. Not because he pushed, but because he never needed her to validate him. That's the man women trust. That's the man who gets all of her, without asking. Because the deepest part of a woman is only revealed when she feels safe. And nothing creates safety like a man who doesn't need to dominate, fix, or perform, but simply holds the frame. If you've made it this far, something inside you is waking up. You're done trying to decode women through charm, tricks, and noise. You're ready to lead with stillness. To stop chasing. To stop explaining. To stop folding every time the test gets hard. Women don't need more nice guys. They crave presence. Depth. Direction. Containment. So here's your call to action. Type it in the comments. I move in stillness. I lead with calm. Because from this moment forward, you're not here to be remembered for noise. You're here to be remembered for impact. Speak less. Stand taller. And always remember. Her chaos dies in your calm. Conclusion: the man she can't forget is the one who mastered himself. Let's stop pretending this is just about women. What you've just absorbed, these 9 emotional weak points, these patterns that crack open attraction, trust, and connection, they're not tricks. They're reflections. Reflections of you. Because here's the hard truth. Until you become the kind of man who can stand in silence, in rejection, in longing, in uncertainty, without collapsing, you will always be at the mercy of someone else's approval. And when you're at the mercy of approval, you are not a man in his full power. You are a boy in disguise. This entire breakdown wasn't about decoding women to manipulate them. It was about recognizing the blueprint of emotional strength inside yourself. Because when you tap into that, you don't just attract her. You command her respect, even her surrender. And more importantly, you respect yourself. Let me say it again. Women aren't the test. Life is. Women simply reflect back what you haven't resolved in yourself. She triggers your insecurity. Good. Now you see where you still doubt your own worth. She pulls away when you get vulnerable. Good. Now you see how you depend on her for validation. She loses interest when you chase. Good. Now you see that your energy is still outward focused instead of inward aligned. Every rejection. Every silent treatment. Every mixed signal. It's a mirror. Not of her confusion, but of your unfinished foundation. So here's the question most men run from. Can you sit in discomfort and not flinch? Can you stay composed when your mind screams to react, explain, prove, or beg? Can you love without needing to be needed? Because that ability to remain still while everything inside wants to move, that is where a man is forged. You want to be unforgettable to women? Then stop performing. Stop pleasing. Stop chasing validation through words, status, or performance. And start becoming the man who doesn't need to convince anyone of his worth, because he knows it, breathes it, and embodies it. That's why Stoicism is so lethal in attraction. Because it isn't about being cold. It's about being in control. Emotional control isn't suppression. It's precision. It's the ability to choose what deserves your energy and when. It's the ability to hold a woman's storm without reacting like a storm yourself. It's the ability to speak only when needed, and let your silence say the rest. Look around. Most men are reactive. Emotional. Addicted to being understood. Addicted to the chase. Addicted to being liked, even when it costs them their backbone. But a stoic man? He's different. He leads with clarity. He listens without needing to fix. He watches without trying to control. He walks away when his values are violated, even if he wants to stay. This is the man she trusts. Not because he's perfect. But because he's predictable in pressure. Let me tell you what most women will never say out loud. They don't want to carry all the weight. They don't want to make all the decisions. They don't want to lead the emotional dynamic of a relationship. They're tired. They want to feel held, not just physically, but emotionally and energetically. They want to relax into a man's certainty. They want to surrender, but only if the man they're with won't collapse when they do. That's why all of this matters. Because until you build that stillness, that silence, that slow-burning self-possession, you'll continue to attract chaos. Not because she's chaotic, but because your energy is inviting it. You want her softness. Then be her container. You want her loyalty. Then show restraint. You want her to stop testing you. Then pass the test. And what is the test? The test is whether you belong to yourself. Do you speak because you're afraid of losing her, or because you mean it? Do you chase because you're addicted to her attention? Or do you hold your frame and invite her in with calm? Do you react when your ego gets triggered, or can you pause, breathe, and choose your response? Because here's the highest level of this game. You stop trying to get women. And you start learning to lose them, without losing yourself. Let that land. When you can let her walk away and still stand tall, you've arrived. When you no longer need to prove your worth to anyone, you've evolved. When your peace is no longer negotiable, you've won. She will feel that. Deeply. Whether she says it or not. Whether she stays or not. Because a woman may not always know why she's drawn to a man. But she always feels when he's whole. So if there's one thing you remember from this video, let it be this. Powerful men move slowly. They speak rarely. And they love deeply, but never desperately. You want to become unforgettable? Then become the man who walks with stillness, listens with intent, and stands with unshakable self-respect. No loud voice. No clever tricks. No games. Just presence. Just clarity. Just depth. That's the man she dreams of, but rarely finds. That's the man whose memory lingers long after he's gone. That's the man you were meant to become. So now the question is yours. Will you chase her? Or will you become the man she chases in her mind for years to come? Let the world keep rewarding volume. You'll move with precision. Let the boys keep reacting. You'll remain anchored. Let them seek applause. You'll seek alignment. Because in the end, attraction isn't about what you say. It's about who you are when you say nothing. Type it in the comments right now. Her chaos dies in my calm. Because from this moment forward, that's your compass. That's your edge. And that's your legacy.